Hello, why not cross gold by bike? That's exactly what the Velodyssee is for. It's a bike route that goes across France from north to south or south to north. In this video, you'll see the real side of bike touring. The good and the hard, not just the pretty parts, the truth. I'll also share some tips to help you do a trip like this. For those who don't know me, my name is Eric. My YouTube channel is about van life and my adventures. If you like this video, you know what to do. Bike touring is like van life but on a bike. We carry everything with us. The route goes from Roscoff near Asterix village all the way to Hendaye. That means from near England to Spain. Our story starts in Canada. We choose to use bike cases to protect our bikes. Cardboard boxes are not great. It's hard to find one for the way back, and hard to carry the load without the wheels. Plus, cardboard doesn't protect the bikes as well. We landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport, and yes, we're going to cross Gaulle. We went through Paris in order to catch a train to Roscoff, our starting point. Just a note, in Paris, bikes aren't allowed on some trains at certain times, but that rule isn't always enforced. Because we arrived late, we had to spend one night in Paris. That wasn't bad at all. It was a real treat, and biking in such a beautiful city is easy and fun. Even in the middle of the city, people still enjoy a fresh pastry in the morning. Heads up, it's tricky to get a spot on an intercity train with a mounted bike. It was easy in Denmark, but not here. Too many people. It's best to book your train tickets early to avoid the stress. The closest we could get to Roscoff by train was Morlaix, so we had to bike north first, then ride back down the Velodyssee. Like I said, we're doing the whole route. No skipping the start, we have to begin at the English Channel. Morlaix. Première côte. In Morlaix, we stayed at a hotel. The bike trip hadn't officially started yet and we were running out of time. But we were so happy to be here and to be done with all the planning to get to start. Day 1 on the Velodyssee. The ride up to Roscoff was improvised. I like using a GPS to navigate. The battery lasts for days and it has other cool features too. I can talk about that in another video if you want. Right now I am being told I am on the verge of getting a speeding ticket. Still going north on the way to reach Roscoff, the starting point of the Velodyssee. The villages are amazing. They are much more beautiful than we expected. The fact that they have kept such beautiful historic buildings is amazing. What a privilege! This video lets you ride along with me, which is really entertaining. But if you're thinking about doing the Velodyssee, it also gives you several helpful tips before you go and helps you figure out which section you would prefer to ride if you cannot do the whole thing. We are almost at the start of the Velodyssee in Roscoff. Honestly, we can't wait to stop going north. We're about to waste 30 km riding north before we can finally turn around and head south. Finally arriving in Roscoff. This is the Atlantic Ocean. This part between France and England is called the English Channel. EuroVélo routes are long-distance bike paths across Europe. EuroVélo 1 follows the old coast of Europe. The Velodyssee is the French part of that route. We start right at the edge of the English Channel. The water is cold. Here we are, me and my girlfriend, at the official start in Roscoff. We're so excited to officially begin. But the trip actually started a few days ago. This is day 3 since we arrived in France. So plan for logistics at the start and at the end to get back to Paris. We choose to ride from north to south because 60 to 75% of the time the wind blows from the northwest to the southeast. That's important to consider when you're biking across a country. It didn't take long to realize we wouldn't always be on the Velodyssee bike path. You'll see all kinds of roads in this video. It will almost feel like you are here with us. We had lunch in Saint-Paul-de-Léon. Great traditional crepes at a traditional spot. On est à Morlaix, sous un énorme pont, pendant que ça flotte. Voici la flotte. On est content d'être arrêté ici. This is the second rain of the day. To be honest, the Velodyssee isn't always easy to follow. The signs are either missing or hard to find. Here are a few facts about the route. Total distance 1,284 km. Total climbing 6,458 meters. 76% is on greenways and bike paths. 73% is on paved roads. 57% is on roads with no cars. Even if some signs are missing, it's okay. The official Velodyssee website lets you track your location and see the route. Big thanks to the people who built the EuroVélo site and the app. They are amazing. So yes, a phone is essential. Close first flat tire. First night, improvised camping on the grounds of an old train station turned into an inn. The ground was covered in dog poop, and we got a bit of rain to wet all that. 88 km done. Day 2. We're in Brittany. It's hilly. Also, unlike most of France, this area wasn't bombed much in World War II, so many villages are still untouched. Close back tire blew out. Bang! The roads have big rocks. We need more than patches or a tube. We had to find a new tire fast. I repaired it with tube patch. Was it a big deal? No. Did we manage? Yes. Every cloud has a silver lining. We decided to take the road instead. Woohoo! Now we are making strides and we see more than just forest. So we started taking some alternate routes. The Velodyssee can lead you anywhere if you go off it. Many villages still have their old streets, walls and houses from the Middle Ages. You can really feel that history even with some newer buildings added in. There is always something to climb in Brittany. Luckily, we found a decathlon quickly. That won't happen often. There aren't many bike shops on the Velodyssee, so bring spare parts and tools. A spare tire is a must. Chloe left Decathlon with new tires. We will see if things get better. As you see, there's lots of rain in Brittany. It can get a bit boring in some parts of the Velodyssee. For those sections, getting off the path onto the road is more interesting. Bike touring is about emptying your mind. No overthinking, just the rhythm of pedaling and the joy of discovery. The days are so packed. We see so many towns and villages that it is impossible at the end of the day to remember them all, especially since the names are hard for us to remember. 80% are Breton, and Breton is a Celtic language from Gaulish language. As Canadians, the names sound very different from the French, First Nations of North America, and English names we're used to. In France, you can buy bread from vending machines. The baguette is really important and it has to be fresh from that day. More awesome crepes, a local classic, so good. We slept at the community campground and had some more rain. 64 km today. Day 3, rainy day. Is the rain affecting our mood? No. Are we super happy to see such beautiful villages? Yes. It's nothing more and nothing less than a trip back in time. We're not expecting anything and then bam! We find ourselves in a village with such incredible authenticity. We got stopped by the rain, so we took shelter in a bus stop. It's so authentic and impressive to see a movie-like setting like this. A medieval church with a beautiful wooden community hall right next to it. Super vieille église. Quel beau mortier. It's impressive to see perfectly preserved masonry work. It's so old. Not sticking to the Velodyssee often means more hills. Some parts of the Velodyssee are on old train tracks, so they're flatter but in gravel surfaces. However, staying only on the Velodyssee means you miss a lot of villages, so we rode around it. Those villages are too beautiful to skip. That's my advice. Rouen Campground. In Europe, campsites are rated with stars. Depending on the number of stars, they may or may not provide toilet paper, so always bring your own. That was surprising for us Canadians. In Canada and the US, toilet paper and soap are always provided. We didn't ride much on the Velodyssee today, but we had plenty of hills. 46 km done. Day 4. We took down the tent in the rain. That's definitely the most annoying thing about the rain. It's having a wet tent. So we'll have to dry it before tonight. Crazy weather day. In the morning we hide in a bus stop shelter, then a bathroom. Later we hide under a wind turbine because the rain was almost sideways. In Asterix, the ghosts were afraid that the sky would fall on their heads. Now we know why. You have a perfect sunny day and then suddenly comes the rain. Les toilettes très bien cachées. There is a very useful app to know where you can find toilets. When you travel like this, it is very handy. The app is called Toilet Finder. Built around the statue of Virgin Mary found in a bramble bush called a roncier, this basilica was therefore named Notre-Dame du Roncier, which means Our Lady of the Bramble. It is another 15th century building. Here's the Josselin Castle, a castle from the 11th century, rebuilt in the 15th century, located on the banks of the Oust River in Josselin. The Oust River is part of the Nantes-Brest Canal. The castle is still inhabited by the Rohan family. De retour sur la Vélodyssée. Et voilà, j'ai proxy de justesse. À 7 heures, ça va être fermé. Plus de nourriture, plus de restaurant, plus rien. Comme d'habitude. Here is the translation of what was just said. And there we are, we made it just in time. At 7 o'clock, everything will be closed. No more food, no more restaurants, nothing. As usual. We're in Saint-Martin, right along the Nantes to Brest Canal. We put on and took off our rain gear about 15 times. The day ended with sunshine on the Velodyssee. Slept at the municipal campground. A full rain kit is a must. Day 5. Saint-Martin-sur-Oust to Vendée. All these villages are always this quiet and peaceful in the morning. Actually, you could practically say the same all day long. Bike touring is seeing every detail, smelling everything, noticing the little things, feeling every bite of weather, living continuously outside, meeting people from all over, all because biking lets you go slow. It's wonderful. Bike touring also means stepping into other people's daily lives, riding through their neighborhoods, shopping at their corner store, then riding away, just brushing up against their lives. Then you leave forever. Here comes the rain again as we still sing today. Bought a Norwegian fruit bread at Lisa Bakery. It was amazing. The scenery is changing. We are in Redon, right on the border of Brittany and the Pays de la Loire. Bonjour. On est dans la Loire. Sunny day but 65 km/h headwind. We did a good stretch on the Velodyssee, but most was on small country roads. On s'en va faire des courses. A great way to harness energy. 2 benefits in one. Close third flat tire. That's 3-0 for Chloe, 0 for Eric. We changed the tire and tube. Having new puncture-proof tires make a huge difference. Chloe's tire size wasn't available at the start. I'm riding on black belt tires. Turkish toilet, also known as squat toilet or floor toilet. Arrived at the campground around 8 p.m. Tired. 2 étoiles, France. 70 km today. Day 6. In the Loire region. When you arrive in these small villages, it's simple. You head for the church steeple and you'll find food. That's usually where the shops are. Typical village toilet with automatic cleaning. There's always a little bit of stress going to those things. You don't want to end up all wet and washed down. The special thing about this one, you can pee outside. You can tell the style of the villages is changing. We're not in Brittany anymore. Boulangerie-pâtisserie ici. We need to dry out our tent whenever we can. After all the rain, I got a fever yesterday and still don't feel great. Tylenol was almost impossible to find at the pharmacy. Listen, always bring basic meds. We lubricate our chain roughly every 3 days. Sometimes you have to go ask for water. There are also apps to find water like Mono. La Loire. Le long de la Loire. We made it to the town of Paimboeuf and the mouth of Loire River, so we're very close to the Atlantic, maybe 10 to 15 kilometers, 56 kilometers on the Velodyssee today. We slept at Ushuaia, a 3-star campground. There were goats. Day 7. Ushuaia campground in the morning. So nice. It reminds me of the French movie series Camping. Total inclusive camping vibes. Alice de Paimboeuf. sur la Vélodyssée. Walkways with fishermen's huts. The water is salty. First time we've seen the ocean since Roscoff. We are arriving in Saint-Brévin-les-Pins, right at the mouth of the Loire River. And here's the bridge to Saint-Nazaire. Still riding the Velodyssee. We have finally made it to the sea. We have already done Brittany. We are now right in the middle of Pays de la Loire. We will keep heading south to reach Nouvelle-Aquitaine. That's the region that takes us all the way to Spain. You'll see it all like you're right here with us. Now we have a southern vibe. French fishing huts. The net is lowered at high tide and lifted at low tide. Land sailing is a three-wheeled vehicle powered only by the wind. It's very popular in France, which is also the world champion in the sport. Like van life, bike touring means not knowing what you'll see or where you'll sleep. You live with no stress because your body sets the pace. It decides where you end up. This all depends on hills, the weather, and a bunch of things you can't control. So why worry about elements you can't control? Really, it is quite relaxing for the mind. Just pedal and enjoy what comes. Arriving in the Loire Valley, the architecture changes instantly. In Brittany, we saw houses built from granite and covered in slate. Those materials are local to Brittany and they withstand the wind and rain from the Atlantic. Further south, we find white tuffeau stone and canal ties. That limestone soil is common in the Loire Valley. Those light materials reflect the heat and are easy to cut. In just 1 week of cycling, we crossed 2 different Frances. Pornic. Finished around 6:30 p.m. Went to Listra campground. 4 stars, there was a huge high school party. Dinner at La Fabrique, burger at the campground. 29 Celsius and southwest wind. 54 km. Day 8. Beautiful sunny day, but headwind over 25 km per hour. Since yesterday afternoon, we've seen houses with almost no front yard, then houses with huge yards, and now houses with no yard at all. The differences are surprising. You never know what you're going to see. It's really fascinating. Here are some other surprising vending machines. Here you can do your laundry outside, and why not buy oysters from a vending machine too? Clearly, we are a long way from the vibe of the villages in Brittany. We've come a long way. Bonjour. Welcome to the wonderful world of vending machines. We took alternate roads to finally get back to the Velodyssee. The coast was amazing. You would think this is a spa? Nope, this is a 4-star campground. Slept at Camping des Cyprès, half campground, half resort. Great shower building. Never saw something that much luxury in a campground. For the first time, we have a table. Total 63 km. Day 9, nice day. Stopped at Decathlon. I bought arm sleeves for sun protection. I like them better than sunscreen. No mess. I highly recommend them. Met a couple starting a year-long trip. Stopped at Super U for food and breakfast. We hit an unpleasant gravel section. Got back on the road. Breakfast at the bakery is a must in France. Road through Les Sables d'Olonne, Surf Town. Beautiful, tailwind, nice day, not too hot, big beach. Clearly a day with varied scenery. Never knowing what's waiting for us is fantastic. It's often easier to buy groceries and eat at the camping site. Restaurants open late. After showering and setting up camp, we don't feel like riding another 10-kilometer round trip. In a car, 5 km is nothing. On a bike, it's a lot. We usually eat out once a day at restaurants when we can. Stop in La Tranche-sur-Mer to camp at Jard. 73 km. Day 10. Met up with René and rode together. We later met a young couple from the last campground. They live in the Alps and produce Genepi liquor. The 5 of us rode together in a pack. We rode for a while at 28 km per hour. This speed is not too bad for loaded bikes.
Et là, il est pas tard, il est 2 heures. C'est bien.
La Rochelle. Went to La Rochelle for a drink with René, then continued to Rochefort. Everybody went towards their own different destinations. They were doing only a section of the Vélodyssée. Finding a campground was tough. Ended up at Camping des Sablons. Met someone from Chamonix. He's retired and biking around France before walking across it. 90 kilometers were covered today. Day 11, a terrible day. Rain, intense rain, wind, gusts over 45 km per hour, high-speed road riding on heavy rain. We had it all. Ça c'est le transbordeur de Roquefort, un des derniers semble-t-il en France. On a hâte d'essayer ça. The Rochefort Transporter Bridge was built in 1900. Instead of crossing over the bridge, a gondola slides underneath to carry cars, pedestrians and bikes from one bank to the other. It is one of the last 8 transporter bridges still in operation in the world. It is listed as a historical monument.
Tourne à gauche, le modèle, mesdames, vous pouvez descendre. Bah oui.
Dans la gauche.
This is an unfinished church dating back to 1100. On peut toucher. It's really old. You can even see the wooden pegs. Saint-Jean-d'Angle. Pourquoi? Pour ça. Our plan was to take a ferry, but there was a national strike that day. We had to find a nearby campground and we were at the harbor right downtown. Arrived after dark at a campground. No dinner. We went straight to sleep. 62 km today despite so much bad weather. Day 12. Big boat day. We started super early in light rain. We were up at 5:30 a.m. in order to catch the first ferry at 7:45 a.m. Very damp. On that morning, our legs were stiff. We arrived at Verdon-sur-Mer, which we found most charming. The weather was perfect, but 25 km/h winds. At the bakery, we met a very nice man with his dog Vega. After a talk, the guy even invited us for a coffee at his house. About bike safety. In France, a bike is treated like a vehicle, so it doesn't have right of way. But if you get off and walk next to your bike, you become a pedestrian and you do have right of way. At crosswalks, cars must stop for pedestrians, not for cyclists. Good to know in some cities. Some places have less courtesy than others. Road through Mimizan, a surf town. We slept at the big La Côte d'Argent campground. We decided to stop riding at 3 p.m. We were tired from the previous intense day. So we rested, did laundry, chatted with family, ate out at the camping restaurant. This was a 5-star campground. There was lots of activities. Bed at 9:30 p.m. 55 km, hard to do more with the ferry. Day 13. We left Côte d'Argent campground to a beautiful day with great weather. We rode a lot through the forest. To our surprise, while riding in the morning, we saw a baby wild boar. We're really in gold. There's no point comparing daily distances. How many kilometers do you do per day? Depends on so much. Bike weight, load on the bike, hills, road type, wind, rain, chats, sightseeing, start time, etc. Every day is different. We took a break at Lacano Océan. We fell in love with it. The beaches are endless. There is surf schools everywhere. Vibe is great. We had an awesome burger at the Burger House restaurant. There was a nice public Central Square ambience. Ouais. In the afternoon, another surprise issue. A screw on closed pannier rack vibrated loose. Couldn't find it. Had to borrow one the same size from the handlebar. Again, we got lucky and found a rare bike shop nearby that had screws. We bought extra ones. Another tip. We arrived at Fabreville campground at 7 p.m. just before closing. The owner said 20,000 bikes pass his campground every year. We met another nice neighbor. We had a well-deserved shower, a chicken dinner, and went to bed. 73 kilometers more. Day 14. Lots of hills today. Around 20 Celsius, mix of clouds and sun. We met a young guy biking from Germany. 3,000 kilometers in 40 days. A day with lots of stops. Food, bathroom, pharmacy for hydration tablets. Only 48 km today because we stopped early at the famous Les Flots Bleus campground from the camping movies. This campground is next to the Dune du Pilat. It's 2,400 meters long, 500 meters wide, and 117 meters high. It moves 3 to 5 meters into the forest each year. It's the tallest dune in Europe. Don't miss it. We slept at the base of the dune. It was gorgeous. Day 15. We rode a lot on the Velodyssée today. We should have taken an alternate route on a long stretch of hills in the forest and add rain onto this. Wasted time and energy on the Velodyssée. Another rainy, windy day. These woods are absolutely charming. Once again, the Velodyssee signage isn't at its best. It was the last day for a group of 2 adult sisters and their elderly mom. They were heading to the train station, a nice family we had crossed paths with in the last couple of days. We stopped at Leclerc Grocery for food. When we go shopping, there's always one of us who stays outside to watch the bikes. Bicaros. Liberté, égalité, fraternité is on every town hall in France. It is the official motto of the Republic. It started in the Revolution of 1789 as the call of the people. That's why we see it on every town hall. It reminds us of the values of France. Liberty to think and choose, equality for all under the law, and fraternity, the bond that unites all French people. Local markets are great for finding local specialties. If you see one, don't miss it. At the end of the day, at the campsite, we met Jean-Philippe, 72-year-old, an inspiring man biking alone with so much gear, ready for everything. not his first trip. We had dinner together. He invited us to visit him at his home. Another really nice guy who, like me, loves comic books. Had a night at camping Cibo after 78 km. Day 16. The Velodyssee rode well through the Landes County. We took a detour that saved us time. Rain in the morning and the afternoon, so we stopped to change clothes. Met again a tandem couple. They had a broken spoke yesterday. A cork oak. The bark is harvested for cork. Du liège. We stopped in Contis to see the beach and eat lunch from the bakery, but found a restaurant with wraps. I had the best lamb kebab ever. Flew at the falafel wrap, met a pirate couple, great chat. Then we headed to l'Acacia campground in Messanges, totally hidden. 58 km we took the time to enjoy the scenery and the conversations. Day 17. Travel day to Biarritz. We started at the Vieux-Boucau-les-Bains market to enjoy some local specialties and the music performance of our new friend. Ouais. We passed through Osgore, Andres, Bayonne and Biarritz. Had lunch by the sea. The waves were amazing. Osgore is the surfing capital of Europe. Every year the town hosts a stop on the World Surf League Championship Tour. It's also where the movie Brise de Nice was filmed, including that iconic beach surfing moment. Since then, Osgore has kept that cool, slightly quirky vibe. Surf shops, skate, restaurants between sessions, and that feeling where everyone lives by the tide. Between the ocean, the lakes and the pine forest, it's a one-of-a-kind spot where pro surfing meets French pop culture. Cap Breton. Dans le fond, c'est Osgore. Bayonne! We passed through Bayonne to reach Biarritz for the night. We took long stops because the sea and the surfing were incredible to watch. Biarritz. Biarritz is all hills. We arrived at 7 p.m. at the Biarritz campground. We were exhausted and we were told that there was no spot left and the camping was even closing in a couple of days. We ended up sharing a small site with two Australian guys biking across Europe. For dinner, we shared a €19 pizza at the campground restaurant. There was a funny moment with a drunken customer. All that said, Biarritz is amazing. 65 km today. Day 18, Biarritz to Hendaye. 34 km to the finish. We took time to see more of Biarritz. Biarritz is the Saint-Tropez of the Atlantic, a chic and somewhat expensive town where Belle Époque elegance meets the ocean. This is where surfing first arrived in Europe in 1957, and it was a former holiday destination for royalty in the 19th century. As you can see, it's absolutely beautiful, with great waves and fantastic surfing. Editing this video was a real pleasure. It made me feel like I was there again. The shots are great, you feel like you're right in the moment. Then we rode the coastal road. Beautiful. Saint-Jean-Luz. The cannelés from Bordeaux are crisp and golden on the outside, soft and fragrant on the inside, with that irresistible taste of vanilla and rum. This was an awesome discovery. Hey, la route d'Hendaye! It is so different from Brittany. It feels like being in another country. We have watched the scenery change day by day. Saint-Jean-Luz toujours tapé.
Moi, je suis d'ici, tu vas à gauche, là.
We made it to the Pyrénées-Atlantique. The air is different here, the colors too. We go from the beach to the mountains so fast. We had panini for lunch. First part of the day was significantly hilly, but we managed fine. Second part was tough. It was also tough to follow the Velodyssee because of missing signs. Arrived in Hendaye at camp at 7 p.m. via a back road. What an amazing trip we just finished, but the trip was not over. We arrived in Hendaye a day early.
Hendaye, the camping.
We finished with 1,147 km on the meter because of alternate routes, so 137 km less than the official route, but we saw more. Mostly people do a section of the Velodyssee or are doing it by sections over several vacations.
L'Espagne, où on voit les montagnes. Toute l'autre rive.
The next day we took a small ferry to Spain. Such a short crossing, yet such a big difference. A completely different vibe. Everything felt different. The language, the architecture, the meal. This day in Spain was our bonus gift. When you do a trip this physically demanding, I think it's really nice to finish with a little treat like that. This trip was an unforgettable ride. After riding every day for weeks, you actually start to miss the routine and the pleasure of riding your bike every day. (1638) The French bombarded Hendaye and the cannonball marks are still on the castle. This is something. We enjoyed our last night at Hendaye with our night visitors. Don't forget to zip your tent. We met Pèlerin, the only other cyclist we saw doing the old Vélodyssée. He did not deter from the Velodyssee path and got stamps in his Velodyssee passport at each of the 13 official stages. I don't recommend that if you want to see more towns and coastline. And the next day, we rode to the train station to start our journey home. We took an overnight train back to Paris. Unfortunately, we didn't have a sleeper cabin.
Arrivé à Paris à la gare de Sternitz.
We arrived in Paris in the morning, so we had time for one last bike ride and to revisit places from past trips. Paris is actually fun by bike. This was another bonus gift. Here are a few more tips. Take regular rest days to let your muscles recover. Our logistics at the start and at the end didn't allow for that. We don't like clip-in shoes. You walk too often. Flat bike shoes work great. Less is more. The less stuff you have, the easier is the ride. At the end of the afternoon, getting to Charles de Gaulle was a bit tricky. The RER train was crowded. Hopefully, we were on Saturday. Once at the airport hotel, we packed our bikes back into the boxes. And the next morning, we flew home to Canada. Please share stories from your own life that this video reminded you of. I really like reading them. And tell me what you thought of this kind of video. Where did you watch it from? Are you a cyclist or a follower of my channel? See ya!